Hey, what's up? Dusk here. So I wanted to talk about the lore of Repo after the devs did their little Q&A and they talked a bit about the lore in that. I've been observing the environment for clues about lore for some time, but I wasn't sure what were actually clues for lore and what were just like random bits of, like, oh, this would look cool on a random asset. I honestly just thought a lot of it was just meaningless stuff, but after the Q&A, I've come to realize that almost everything in this game is actually intentionally placed, including the lack of human bodies or the occasional human body, which you'll sometimes see a skeleton back here, is still sitting at the register. Like, he didn't even really get a chance to move. But we do see a lot of abandoned cars outside, but again, a lack of bodies. Now, I think this is for two reasons. One of the reasons is if you go to the Spellbinder Academy, where we very much see magic artifacts, including a broom that will fly, verifying that magic is real in this realm or universe or world. We see written on the wall, it was the headmaster, run. This is our first clue that this monster invasion might have happened or started there and was probably the fault of the headmaster. And the floating head's name, if you click on him, is called the headsman. And he looks like an old man with gray hair. This probably used to be the headmaster. So he had inadvertently turned himself into a monster. And we can probably guess that some of the other monsters are also students from that academy, and then that is the source of the outbreak. Now, of course, the question is why didn't humans fight back? We've seen that guns do exist, and they are quite effective against monsters. We also see that there is a human that we do encounter, the huntsman. But not only is he's blind because his eyes are gouged out. Look at his blindfold. You'll see blood comes out from underneath the blindfold. So what this probably means is that the monsters are extremely horrifying to other human beings. And so this basically paralyzes them and just renders them incapable of fighting back. And or some humans might even be converted into monsters simply by making eye contact with another monster. Excuse me. Which makes sense because we do have this secret area up here where there is often a skeleton up there of someone who just got in the attic and hid and then starved to death, right? So they were just hiding from the monsters and trying not to look at them or make eye contact with them. So, what does this mean for our character? Who are we? Well, we're not called robots. If you've heard or listened to the devs, they call them semibots. Now, why would you call them semibots? Well, there's a lack of human bodies, but there are still some humans around. I surmise that it's because these robots are made probably with human minds or human brains, which is why they seem to have free will and are kind of sophisticated and are, well, being controlled by a human mind, the player. Now, you might say, well, wouldn't that be a cyborg? It would be a cyborg if you wanted to advertise what that is, but if you're trying to keep it a secret, you might call it a semibot. So I think that probably explains that facet of it. Basically, there is already a ton of lore in this game, and they've hidden it all in plain sight in front of us, and by the QA, it sounds like they're going to put even more stuff for us to discover out there. I know I had more that I wanted to talk about and point out. Oh yeah, like the value of items, because some people are like, God, why is this lamp worth $1,200? In the apocalypse, money has no value. So these are just values. These are just random values assigned to things. They don't realistically mean anything, right? But you can look at the items that we do grab. They're either made out of glass or metal or raw materials that are trying to be salvaged or repossessed, if you want to call it that. And some of them are just maybe items of knowledge, like the globe. It's just trying to preserve knowledge or maybe study human knowledge. It's possible that the semi-bots maybe are not sourced by humans. Maybe there was alien intervention. Although, well, because we do see an alien, although the alien is an enemy. Yeah, I take that back. I think this is all human. I think this is just a human magic-fueled apocalypse. Also, you'll notice anytime loot is transferred, it always goes up into the air. So this tells us that there are flying ships and there are ground ships, and the semi-bots are like the scouting force. They just drive around and look for places to scout. We find a place, we set up an extraction point, we hit the marker, and then that, you know, sends in a flying cargo ship to get these resources, right? So that's probably like the vast majority of our lore for the game. I'm curious if you've seen or noticed any little interesting bits. Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see, like, as a community, what we can piece together by studying the maps and the background in Repo. Anyway, I gotta get going. I gotta get to work. I'll catch y'all later.